All right, it's a Friday. That means it's time for our weekly feature, Tech Base. Now, the inaugural Africa Tech Week will be held in Cape Town on the 4th and 5th of March. The organizers say this is set to become the largest annual tech gathering in Africa, looking at tangible strategies to respond to the fourth industrial revolution. The Department of Science and Technology involved the city of Cape Town as well. It will be aimed at decision makers, businesses, tech recruiting firms, and startups. Now, one of the speakers is a global business strategist and serial entrepreneur, Salim Ismail. He founded technology companies, including one that was acquired by Google in 2010. He's based in the US. He joins us via Skype from Romania. Good evening to you, Mr. Ismail. And you're also the author of Exponential Organizations. What are those? Let's start there.
Great, thanks for having me. Exponential organizations are a new breed of organization that's literally less than 10 years old, where they've learned how to scale the organization structure as fast as we can scale technology. Uber, Airbnb, and a couple of others would be good examples.
All right, and you talk about companies, how they can leverage technology to grow 10 times faster than others. Give us a lot more information.
So if you think about Uber, or Airbnb is a good one, the marginal cost for Airbnb to add a room to their inventory is almost zero because they information enable existing assets. If you're Hyatt, you have to build a whole hotel. So that gives Airbnb an enormous scaling advantage. In the automotive industry, a typical car with a combustion engine has about 2,000 moving parts in the drivetrain. A Tesla has 17. So in terms of design, maintenance, wear and tear, upkeep, it's just orders of magnitude less. So there's lots of areas where you can deliver 10 times better, faster, cheaper than your competitors by leveraging new technologies. And so we look for organizations that are using this capability and scaling to a global level. If you take TED, the conference, as an example, it was just a high-end conference. Chris Anderson gave it a tagline, ideas worth spreading. He allowed anybody to create a TEDx event, and now it's a global media brand.
I like that you raised Tesla, so that doesn't mean it's only sort of online things that can grow exponentially. Not
at all. In fact, Paul Pullman, the CEO of Unilever, ordered every brand in Unilever to take on what we call a massive transformative purpose. And now the 5 most profitable brands in Unilever globally, which is used by 2 billion people per day, which is kind of incredible, are now the ones that have implemented that concept the most.
We're often down in the dumps. So you will be speaking at Africa Tech Week, and often we look about, we talk about our problems, concerns, for example, in South Africa about education, which is something that points to the future. If you look at the challenges in South Africa and across this continent, is there still scope for exponential organizations?
Yes, in fact, I think if you think about the industrialized world, they have to unlearn 50 years of management thinking to build things in a completely new way. There's no MBA program in the world that can teach you how to build Uber. And all the executives and people who have business experience are building 20th century traditional linear pyramid style organizations. Whereas what you can do in Africa, and there's a huge opportunity there, is to build these organizations from the beginning, train people in a totally new model. And it's just like you can scale infinitely and very quickly. And I expect that most of these organizations will be built in emerging markets where new ideas can take hold more quickly.
So you mean we can actually leapfrog in innovation?
Yeah, and if you think about, there were very few landlines in Africa, which skipped over the whole landline generation, and now there's 1 billion handsets, right? And that was inconceivable 10, 15 years ago.
You were once a vice president of Yahoo. We know there were things in the end, problems there. Nokia, maybe another example where executives became complacent. I'm not asking for your personal experience, but looking at those sort of organizations, do you also look at sustainable success?
Yes, very much so. It has to be sustainable in those organizations. What happened was, in the modern world, you can't just be an operating company, you have to become a platform. And so on the technology world, BlackBerry, Nokia, Yahoo all failed to become platforms. Facebook, Apple, Google, etc. have successfully become platforms and gone on to become very successful. And so we see platform companies emerging and a whole new brand of ecosystem companies emerging to kind of generate a totally new model.
Mr. Ismail, you're the founder of Singularity University, talking about inspiring young people to use these exponential technologies to solve the world, basically. It sounds very ambitious.
It is, but we have global, the world's biggest problems, healthcare, education, clean water, energy. They're also the world's biggest markets. So if you can solve a problem, then you can solve it globally and you have a massive opportunity. And the key is we have new technologies that are scaling to a global level. And this is very unique. Never before in mankind have we had technologies where if you apply them, they can scale so quickly. For example, drones are doubling in their price performance every 9 months. So 5 years ago, a drone could carry a 20-kilo package. That went to 40, 80, 160, 320, and now we have 600-kilo drones. Right? And so you can build solutions on it, which will then scale to a global level. Solar energy may be the most dramatic example. That's doubling every 22 months. At this pace, we will be able to deliver the entire world's global energy supply with solar in 12 years. And the interesting thing with solar is the poorest countries in the world are the sunniest countries in the world.
So what is good is we are one of those. Solar energy, huge potential, but a lot of the problems. And we in South Africa, like many around the world, are trying to predict the skills that will be needed in the future. I see part of this Africa Tech Week is a recruitment drive. If you had to speak to young people trying to guess what the future holds, what would you say? What do you study now?
So there is a few buckets that are obvious: data science, design thinking, etc. But we think every job description in the future will be complex, adaptive problem solver. And so you need to be a bit of a generalist. What we suggest for people is not to get excited about a technology or a skill set. Get excited about a problem. What problem has you get up at 6 a.m. in the morning to try and solve it, and then find the skills, the technologies that you can bring to bear on that problem.
Is creativity something you can learn, do you think?
Yes, absolutely. There's lots of ways of doing it, but loosening up the brain. Drugs help, but not necessarily recommended. There's lots of ways of loosening up your brain. We have good understanding of neuroplasticity and how we can think laterally and horizontally and bring forward really new creativity. And that's really where human skills will go in the future. Note that we value the people in our organizations that learn the fastest. And they're the most valuable people. And so that's essentially the core of the new skill set.
All right, thank you very much. That was Global-Tech Strategist Salim Ismail on Skype from Romania, and he will be one of the key speakers at Africa Tech Week that will be held in Cape Town on the 4th and 5th of March. The organizers saying it will be very big, very important for this continent.